The AR-15 is an awesome weapon. Designed uniquely for the dense jungles of Vietnam. It's lightweight, easy to control, and can be fired by a 4-foot 10-inch 100-pound boy or a 6-foot 7-inch 275-pound man. Not to forget the fact that it is extremely accurate right out of the box. Hello, I'm Lenny McGill. While the M16 AR-15 is quite capable of accurate fire at 100, 200, even 600 yards, it was conceived for close quarter combat, CQC, shooting at distances of 50, 25, 10 yards, and even closer. The government knew that its soldiers were not going to be marksmen. In fact, many of the new recruits had never even fired a gun before entering the military. So they had to develop a firearm that was lightweight, easy to carry, easy to shoot, and pointable. Yes, I said pointable, because the military knew that when a squad was ambushed, the first thing that they're going to do is turn, point the gun in the direction of the danger, and pull the trigger. Up, up. So here you have it, the M16 AR-15, the world's most pointable, most accurate, most devastating assault rifle available to any armed forces on the planet, bar none. It is truly the most awesome assault rifle available for CQC, close quarter combat. Coming up in this video, I want to show you why. Coming up, you'll learn how to shoot fast and accurately at single targets and then at multiple targets. Why the U.S. military chose the .223 round over the beefier .308 cartridge. How to use cover as support for extremely accurate shooting. A battle-proven method on how to increase your ammunition supply. Why and how you should practice shooting on the move. Same thing, okay? And the secret to fast, accurate shooting. So as you can see, we've got a great program coming up, all designed to help you understand the awesome power of the AR-15. I call it AR-15 CQC. All right, let's go ahead and talk now about the gear that I've got on, my CQC gear, because I want to get it over with here at the beginning of this stage of the program. And then later on, we won't have to talk about it all. You'll already know what I've got on. A lot of people are going to be looking at it and say, what the heck's he wearing and why and how and all that stuff. So first off, I got a Black Hawk vest on. This is an assault type vest, a load bearing vest, if you will. Got a lot of different pockets here. This is a different configuration than most because it has a holster on this side. So what I'm going to do is show you here. Keep a pistol in there securely. It's a nice little option. I think, you know, for true CQC, you're going to want to go ahead and have an ultimate or alternative weapon just in case you have a malfunction or you lose this gun. You can see here we've got a pouch for firearm, a lot of other pouches in here. These pouches are designed to carry AR-15 style magazines. You can put up to 3 in each pouch. There's 2 different pouches this way. Also some more pouches for ancillary things, stuff that you want to carry. You also see on the back there's a bunch of hookup webbing bars which you can hook things to and secure things to. So that's the vest. I'm wearing some gloves because when you shoot a lot, you want to wear some kind of gloves. These are receiver gloves. They're made by Nike, football type receiver gloves, and they really just you know, give you something to, when you really bear down on the rifle, especially when I get into the .308 a little later on. It gives you something to hold on to, all right, so without beating your hands up too much. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is the tactical thigh holster here, tactical mounted holster. It's got a rotating hood. It's really a trick setup. You can see that two things it does is it enables my hand to be right here with the gun where I am. I don't have to worry about any other type of drawing. I don't have to bring my hand up. My hand is on the gun, okay? Second thing, it holds the gun extremely secure. The rotating hood is not going to come open unless I depress it with my thumb and slide it open and pull the gun out, all right? That's how it works, all right? And then we come up and we can access our shot. Again, back in. Here's what's very cool too. You push it in, and to secure, just pull the hood up. And now the gun is very secure. These are very popular with law enforcement, special forces type teams, SEAL teams, that kind of stuff, because it is the true trick setup for close quarter combat. Again, close quarter, we're talking about being close. We're talking about getting close to people, and people are going to be able to grab you, grab your weapon, grab your rifle. You need to have a backup rifle, a knife, something, because if you lose your primary weapon, you're in big trouble. All right, so now I've kind of detailed some of the gear I've got on, what I'm wearing. Let's talk now about the rifles we're going to be working with primarily today. It is AR-15 CQC, so obviously we're working with AR-15s. I'm going to show you the Colt AR-15 I've got here. It's the Sporter H-bar. It's got a little heavier barrel than your standard AR-15. The heavier barrel meaning that it's a little thicker steel. All right. Now what that gives you is the fact that it's thicker steel means there's going to be less vibration, hence a truer shot over the course of time, especially when you shoot lots of shots and the barrel heats up. That's what the H-bar, heavy barrel, means, okay? Because there's more steel there, it's going to have a truer shooting over a course of fire, say in competition, and or if you're in battle or something like that, okay? The AR-15, like I said, most of you know the operation of the gun. If you don't know the operation of the gun, it's a good idea to go ahead and pick up my other tape. It's called Mastering the AR-15. Talks about all how to load, how to shoot, how to sight it in, all those particulars, getting you started with the firearm. But like I said, I'm introducing this gun right now because I want you to know this is what we're going to be working with, and I've got another gun we're going to be working with as well. It is the carbine version, CAR-15. Carbine meaning shorter. You can see this gun is substantially shorter than this gun. The barrel itself is approximately 3 inches shorter. The stock is collapsible on the CAR. Okay, you'll see there's a little button here. You can pull the stock out. That gives you shooting position here. It's a lot lighter. This is the standard barrel, much lighter than the heavy barrel. The gun itself is a lot lighter because it doesn't have all the stock and everything back there. This is probably the true choice for CQC, for close quarter combat, only because it's so darn small and so darn light, okay? Again, by being able to shoulder the gun up in here, I'm cutting 5 to 6 inches off the barrel length, and that's dramatic when you're in a close environment, especially inside of a house or entering a house. When you go around a corner, you've got that long barrel sticking out of there. Long barrel, something we'll talk about a little later on, has a chance to be picked off or someone's going to grab it or then struggle with your weapon, all right? Not a real good idea to grab hold of that barrel, but we'll talk about that, like I said, later on. So this is the CQC, or the CAR-15, and one thing I do want to draw your attention to is I've got the new Surefire Tactical Mounted Light. It's an integral piece, okay? So let me go ahead and show you this here, if I can. You can see it's all one piece. Basically what Surefire's done is they've come up with a system where you replace the fore-end grip, the heat shield grip, with their grip, and then it has a light built into it. So no wires, no fuss, no muss. You just put that on there, it's on. Batteries are built into it. They do change out, of course. And then when you want to turn the light on, you just, there it is. There's a touchpad here built into the grip itself, and boom. It's got a true on-off switch if in case you don't want to hit that by mistake, it won't go on. Then for tactical operation, boom, here you go. And it also has a full just on and a full off. And of course the touchpad is the way you'd want to use it. You'd want to shoot, move, okay? Of course all the guns that we're working with here are unloaded, and I verified all of that before we even started. That's why, of course, I would never suggest that you point a gun at anybody at any time for any reason, okay? All right, there's another story. Okay, so there's the CAR-15. There's your standard AR-15. I think I want to draw your attention to one other thing here on the standard AR-15. What I've done for my gun, because I've got rather large hands, is I've replaced the grip with an aftermarket grip, okay? You can see that this grip is a little larger. Now again, in the beginning of the program, I stated that the AR-15 could be shot by a 4'10" 4'10" boy, or a 6'7", 6'10" man. And the military, in their wisdom and genius, developed the AR-15 to be able to be shot by just about anybody. All right, you have to think about it. They get just about anybody in the recruits. So they've got to design a rifle that almost anybody, man, woman, or child, could shoot accurately. And that's what the AR-15 really is. However, because of that, there are some shortcomings, one of which is the grip itself. If you look at the grip here, it's a very small grip. Again, a lot of people have small hands. If you have a big grip, they're not going to be able to hold or maintain a control of the weapon. So they put a small grip, and that's good because everybody can shoot it. However, because I've got large hands, my trigger finger wants to fall way out of bounds there, and I also, when I put it into the trigger well, all of a sudden it comes all the way through. And that means I am naturally, in the heat of battle, going to just pick the gun up and put my whole hand in there, and all of a sudden I'll be pulling the trigger with that bottom pad on my finger. And we all know, for true accuracy, you want to pull the trigger with the top pad because that's the most sensitive area of your finger. In fact, your sensitivity increases as you come from your arm all the way down to be the most sensitive right at the tip of your finger. So your arm will be more sensitive here than it is up here for pain. How about that, how the human body works? But we do know that it's best to try to shoot with the pad of your first index finger. So what I've done with this grip now, by getting a larger grip installed, compared again to the factory or military grip, there are the two. By installing the larger grip, it eats up more of my hand, and hence now you see my finger falls basically right there at the top pad, instinctively, okay? And again, instinct is what you're going to fall back to when something happens. So if someone's shooting at you, that's something happening, you're not going to go ahead and think, oh, let me get that front pad on there, unless you've had a lot of practice, all right? Now, I practice a lot, I dry fire a lot, so I think that, I would instinctively now grip the rifle in such a way, especially with this grip, and go right to that spot. However, the military recognized that, hey, we have people with small hands, we have people with large hands, so we've got to make sure that anybody can grab that rifle and at least be able to return some fire. So they didn't really care about that extreme accuracy. They just cared about putting some lead down range to be able to suppress the enemy so they wouldn't advance, and hence their casualties would increase because, again, advancement is what it's all about in the military. Now we, as civilians, can take the time to customize your gun with the different things that you feel are going to make you a better shooter, and that's what I'm trying to show you here. I put a different grip on here. I've also, here in my CAR, put the light on there. One other thing I want to talk about now is the ammunition that we're using in these AR-15s. You'll see that the AR-15 shoots the .223 cartridge. And one of the things that's very unique about this .223 cartridge is that it's such a lightweight round because it is basically a 55 grain projectile with a whole bunch of gunpowder behind it. So it's lightweight and yet extremely fast. Now the military recognized that when they went to this round that they were sacrificing a little bit of the oomph or punch of the projectile when it hits the intended target. Because now, remember, they were shooting 30-06s and 30 caliber type projectiles, rounds, ammunition in previous wars, but they also realized that the weight of this .223 ammunition is significantly less than the weight of this ammunition, about 2.5 times less. So hence, if I as a soldier am trying to carry 200 or 300 rounds of ammunition with me, I've decreased my load by a significant portion. So the military, in their wisdom again, said to themselves, well, okay, what's important for this battle? Lots of ammunition is important, okay? We need to make sure we can lay down lots of ammo because we can't even see the enemy. They're in the woods, they're in the jungle. All right, so it's more important for our soldiers to be able to have lots of small rounds than half as many big rounds, and be able to travel to that next objective without being bogged down by, you know, hundreds of pounds of ammunition. By going to this 223 round of ammunition, like I said, they sacrificed a little performance at the far side of the spectrum out there at 6 and 7 and 800 yards. This round is much more accurate, much more potent, much more deadly. But then again, they weren't seeing targets out that range. In fact, that's where we're coming right back to CQC, why this weapon was developed for CQCs, because most of the fire that they were doing was within 100 yards. And that's where this gun really excels. All right, so we've talked about the lightweight nature of the rifle, the lightweight nature of the round, and one other important factor is the low recoil that this round has compared to this round. Low recoil. That means anybody, a young boy, can pick this gun up, shoot it, and not get knocked over or not really feel as if they're getting beat up by the gun. In turn, they're going to go ahead and be able to shoot hundreds and hundreds of rounds in a session or a firefight and not be exhausted. They're certainly going to be tired, but not going to be beat up as if you were shooting a Browning automatic rifle or an M14. So the military, again, recognizing that what's more important in this type of warfare that we're entering, being able to lay down lots and lots of shots, which are still effective, because the velocity of this 223 round of ammunition is incredible. And that's what makes it so potent. So all these factors combined make this AR-15 the perfect weapon for CQC. And take it one step further, here in its CAR form, cut down, now it's truly the awesome firearm that it was intended to be. Because now it's very lightweight, can be shot, swung around, carried all day. I can carry 200 or 300 rounds of ammunition with me, put a 30-round clip in there, magazine in there, and you're ready to go. And the bottom line is, it's lightweight ammo, a low recoil, and the perfect gun for CQC. Obviously in the rear, there's a rear aperture sight. All right, now let's talk about the AR-15 and the sights that come with the gun from the factory and how they can be interpreted or understood for CQC shooting. First of all, again, in the first video I did, the Mastering the AR-15, we talked about how to sight the gun in, so I'm not going to cover that here. We're just going to talk about the sights as they stand and how they relate to close quarter combat, CQC shooting. Obviously on the rear there's a rear aperture sight, and on the front there's a front post. The rear has two different apertures. The large aperture is meant for shooting inside of 200 yards. It's a larger hole for you to see the front sight through. The small aperture, which is affected by just flipping this down, okay? Hopefully Brian's been able to show you a close-up there. The small aperture is intended for use at 200 yards and further. Again, it's a smaller hole, so it gives you a little bit more precision at those farther distances. Now, in both circumstances, the objective is to center the front post inside of the aperture in the back. All right, so a couple things to keep in mind here. The front sight, as you see it, is 2 3/4 inches above the center of the bore. Okay? Now, think about that. 2 3/4 inches above the center of the bore. So, if I were to shoot a target right here, right in front of the muzzle, and I line up the sights on the spot I want to hit, the bullet is going to hit 2 3/4 inches below where I line up the sights. Do you follow me? Again, the front sight is 2 3/4 inches above the center of the bore, where the bullet exits. If I line the sights up at a close distance, and I put the rear sight and the front sight and get my sight picture, and I put that on the exact spot I want to hit, I'm going to shoot 2 3/4 inches low. So, what we've got to do then is we've got to start to think about the fact that because this sight sits so high, you've got to make an adjustment in your mind if you're going to use that rear sight. So when you pick the gun up and you have the rear sight lined up, you've got to know that within 25 yards or so, your shot's always going to be low. And within 50 yards, it's going to get a little closer. What we're talking about, we've got that grouping there. The objective here is now, I've got my target set up, and I've got 3 of them set up, obviously. We're going to shoot at 2 yards from the target, from the muzzle. My goal here is to aim at the center of the black tape. And then I'm going to use the sights. And at this distance, I want to see where this shot falls. Okay, will it fall 2.5, 2 3/4 inches low, as I predicted? And I believe it will. And then I'm going to move back to 4 yards. Then I'm going to move back to 10 yards. And then we'll shoot at 25, we'll shoot at 50. All right, so I've got my mark right here. Charge the rifle. All right, here we go. Again, aiming at the very center of the black dot. All right, so safety on. See coming up here, basically what I've got is 2 3/4 inches. And it's something to consider when shooting at close distances. Now let's move back to 6 yards. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So now I'm at 6 yards, which is a fairly realistic distance for self-defense. And I'm going to do the same exercise here. Aiming at the center of the black. All right? And again, results are much the same. A little bit of difference. So that could have been me, obviously, in my hold, but still not a bad little group. Again, aiming at the center of the black, you can see the shot is low, and something you'll have to take in consideration at these CQC type distances. Now let me move back to my table. And we're going to shoot here. I've got to set up at 10 yards exactly. And now 10 yards, I want to make sure that this is an accurate test, so I'm going to shoot off of a bench. And safety's off. Again, aiming for the black of the center of the black. Okay, and if Scott can get a good close-up there, you'll see what we're talking about. We've got an exact grouping there. It appears that all of our shots are 2 3/4, 2.5 inches lower than what and where I in fact aimed, and it's pretty consistent out to 10 yards. Now, I've got 2 more targets placed downrange here, and I want to go ahead and verify their distance. One is at basically 25 yards, and the other one is basically at 50 yards. I've got a laser rangefinder here. It's from Bushnell. It's very easy to operate, basically. Lightweight. Going to go ahead and push my button and hold. There's my 25 yards, and while I'm here, I'm going to verify the other target out there, and that's at 51 yards. So, what's really nice about this thing is there's no on-off switch, so it just goes off by itself. So the objective here now is to shoot at 25 yards and see what kind of results we got. And you know, keep in mind, and I don't know if I mentioned before, that this rifle is sighted in at 100 yards. So I'm going to be expecting here at 25 yards that it shoots a little bit low. How much low? Well, that's to be determined, but we'll find out real soon here. So again, I'm going to hold on to the black dot out there. Using a bench here so I can just verify the principles. Okay. And if you can see, and we'll talk about later, this shot is just about 2 inches short. So not quite as low as the close targets, but low from the black dot. We'll go down there in just a second. Now let's go out to 50 yards. Let me adjust my scope here if I can. And we're going to shoot the same thing. Again, aiming for the black square. And again, a little bit low. So let's take a walk down range here and talk about what's going on. All right, come on down. First of all, we saw here at these close distances, we're talking about a full 2 3/4 inch low from my target because of the fact that the barrel is 2 3/4 inches lower than the front sight. All right, so something to really keep in mind. Now here, that's of course at my 3, 6, or my 2, 6, and 10 yard distances. Down here at 25 yards, you're going to see the same thing. Again, got my black aiming dot or square, but not quite a full 2 3/4 inches low. In fact, if I take my Leatherman out here and use my scale here, being that this is 1 inches from the center of this guy, it's approximately, let's see, go this way here, 2 inches, just about 2 inches low. So not quite as much at those closer distances, but again, something to keep in mind. At 25 yards, I'm going to be 2 inches low. And I guess the key factor to remember is that this gun is sighted in at 100 yards. So here at 50 yards, we're going to look at it one more time and see that from my black aiming circle, or square should I say, I'm about 1 3/4 inches low. So you can see what's happening now. The farther we get, the target is starting to line up with the center of the bore. Okay, now keep that in mind, okay? The shot's not rising. The shot is actually always dropping out of the muzzle. A lot of people think, oh, the shot's gonna rise. No, no, no. The target is coming in line with the bore. Because I've got this gun sighted in at 100 yards, it's going to be dead on at 100 yards. Everything from 100 yards in is going to be low because of the fact that the rifle is going to hit here at 100 and it's 50, it's going to be low. So what I'm trying to point out at this stage and this little demonstration is that for accurate CQC shooting, which is in a sense 10, 6 yards, 25 yards, 50 yards, if you're looking to hit eyeballs, looking to be extremely accurate, you've got to start to take into account the fact that you're going to be hitting low at these distances. How low? Well, it depends how close you are. And that's something you've got to learn with practice and a little bit of training. But hopefully in this program, we've been able to demonstrate that for these kind of shooting distances, you've got to take into account, aim just a little high to be able to be exactly in the center of the target. Let's move on to the next segment, which is the sweet spot theory. Okay, line of sight. You'll see my eye down through the rear sight. All right, let's take this time now to talk about the sweet spot theory as it applies to the AR-15. And before I go there with the AR-15, let's talk about how I came up with this theory, I guess about 10 years ago. With competition pistol shooting and now tactical or self-defense pistol shooting. Sweet spot theory in my mind was basically where shooters, competition shooters in particular, I would observe them and they had a skill of shooting so fast and so accurately. I said, well, how the heck are they doing that? You know, they really, do they have time to really see the sight that fast? And sure they do. Your mind thinks a lot faster than most people assume. But one of the things that they were doing repetitively over and over again was bringing the front sight of the pistol up to their line of sight. So if I'm looking downrange at a target and I see the target, I know that my eyesight is going in a straight line to the target I want to hit. Now I also want to take this one step further. I want to say not just the target, but a precise spot on the target that I want to hit. I want to be very exact with my eyesight. Okay, so now that I've got that laser beam coming out of my eyes directly to the target I want to hit, in turn what I'm going to do now is bring the pistol sights up to my line of sight, okay? And I'm going to intersect these two sights with my laser beam that goes to the target. And I'm going to do that repetitiously over and over again. So each and every time I draw and come up, I'm going to have the same exact sight picture. I'm going to see those sights in my line of sight. Draw, boom, there it is. Again. Draw, boom. Same spot, okay? By keeping my head fixed, my eyes directly on the target I want to hit, and by bringing the sights into my line of sight, I can be extremely fast and extremely accurate. Now, let's apply that same principle to the AR-15. Again, we've got front sight, rear sight. We understand the relationship we're looking for with those two items. Now the key is, how can I bring this sight picture, this alignment of these two sights, into my line of sight and do it rapidly over and over and over again and consistently, and so that each and every time I bring the gun up, I will be accurate? Well, first and foremost, two things to kind of keep in mind. One, you have to keep your head erect, all right? It is very slow for you to shoulder the rifle, drop your head, and look for the sights, okay? Do you see that? Okay, I'm going to point over this way, bring the rifle up, drop your head, and look your sights, okay? Because now two things are entering. I'm moving two things. I'm moving the rifle, and I'm moving my head, okay? Now the head movement is not going to be consistent from time to time, because that will depend on where I place the rifle. If I place the rifle low, I'm going to drop my head farther. If I place the rifle high, I have to drop it a little less. So my theory that goes with the sweet spot with the AR-15 is that you want to keep your head, your eyesight as still, as fixed as possible. So you identify your target. There's your target. Now, I work with the gun shouldered high, okay? Because again, this is very lightweight rifle, very little recoil. Not going to hurt you not to have the whole butt anchored into your shoulder, especially for this kind of drill. And again, I don't even put it on my shoulder. I try to put it closer to the center line of my body, all right? Looking right here. Okay, I'm not trying to have it over here as much as I'm putting it right here. Center line with my chin, okay? Here is what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to bring the front and rear sight up into my line of sight. Now you can see I've turtled my neck a little bit, okay? I'm not all the way erect, okay? Because I can't get the sights into my line of sight. So by turtling my neck, by coming down a little bit, okay? Now all I'm looking to do, get that butt right on my chin basically, and just raise it straight up, okay? And I'm trying to bring this rear aperture into my eyeball. Let me take my glasses off if I can. Okay, let's observe what's going on here, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and look at the barrel, or look at the muzzle of the camera right down. Scott can zoom in a little bit closer. You can see what I'm trying to do now is bring my line of sight, okay, bring the line of sight and the sights themselves, okay? I'm not moving my head at all. My head is still. There it is. I'm looking to bring this rear aperture up to my laser beam that's coming out of my eye. You can understand what I'm trying to get to there. My eyesight that I'm looking at exactly is coming directly up, okay? And now, if Scott can zoom in, you'll see my eye down through the rear sight, okay? Head doesn't move. Again. Okay. This exercise is extremely effective in close quarter combat shooting, all right? When you are in close quarter combat shooting, you don't have the luxury to take a precise sight picture, or should I say, a long, studied sight picture. You're looking, you're wobbling, and you're squeezing, and then bang. No time to do that. because people are shooting back at you, or you wouldn't be shooting them. You've got to be quick, you've got to be fast, you've got to be accurate, you've got to be consistent. So what I'm trying to get at here is to develop a consistency in the way you mount the rifle, not only on your shoulder, but also the sights to your line of sight. Hence, the sweet spot theory. There's my target, there's my sights, okay? I know at this distance, I'm gonna shoot a little bit low, so I'm gonna aim at the top of the target. And there we go, top of the target. Again. Okay, so at these distances, here's my sights, here's my shots. This is what we're hitting. Again, very comfortable for self-defense shooting. Let's go ahead and do a couple more drills. Working at just 6, 10 yards, say 6 yards right here. Okay, there's my target. Again, now over the shoulder. Looking at just keeping my head still and raising, okay? That's what I'm trying to do. That's all I want to do. Okay, you can see a lot of accurate shots for self-defense. Okay, we've got a 5-inch radius here, and that's what we're looking for self-defense accuracy. Okay, we're looking to hit a 5-inch radius here in the chest, here in the head. And that's the shots that we can do, and you can do them relatively fast. Now let's talk about one other thing, if we can. How do I hold the rifle with not only this hand, but also with this hand? Obviously, I've got a standard pistol grip here. And I've got this other hand. I want to show you what I'm doing here. I'm pointing my finger. Okay? It's real important, I feel, for the pointability of the weapon. I could have it like so, but I don't really feel that it's quite the same every time. By pointing, I have an index. I'm looking for the flat spot of the guard there, the heat shield there, and I want to point my finger right down the muzzle. So when I turn and shoot, I am basically pointing my finger every time. Pointing my finger at the target. That's what I'm looking to do. Okay? Now, one other thing I want to talk about here in this segment, and that is basically the ability to manipulate the safety on and off. Okay, it's very, very important. Obviously, here's the safety. And one of the things that I feel is extremely important is for you to be comfortable with taking the safety off, but also putting it back on. All right? I think it's really important that you learn how to automatically put that safety back on without altering your grip. It's a very important safety issue. So off and back on. You could practice this all day long just to be good at it, okay? Without altering your grip, off and on. So you can always index the target, shoot, back on with the safety without altering the grip. So you can see the objective with this sweet spot theory is to start to bring your skills to pointability. All right, that's where we're headed. All right, so now we've talked about how to access or index the sight. Here it is on your shoulder. Bring the sight up to your line of sight. Try to get that rear aperture lined up with your laser beam coming out of your eye, the exact pinpoint of the target you're looking for. Bring it up, bring up the sight. You can see that the gun is shouldered high, but there's no real recoil, so it's no big deal. You can hold on to this gun fairly easily. But now, once we have developed that skill, practice with that skill, we're going to move on to the next segment, and that is point shooting with the AR-15. Up. All right, I've switched guns now. We're going to talk about point shooting with the AR-15. This is the CAR, of course, a lot smaller, a lot shorter. And before I actually get into this, let's talk about the techniques that I'm looking to demonstrate here. One of the things that I'm a firm believer in is center line of your body is where your power is. It is where your sense of balance is. It is also where your direction is. And so if I look at the power, ability to control the firearm, not a big issue with the 223. I look at the balance, it's pretty important, and your direction, very important for accuracy, especially for point shooting. So what I'm going to propose here to you is a little bit different than something you've seen here. In close quarter combat, in close shooting with an AR-15 with 30-round magazine, I feel that you can actually take the gun and center it up, basically with your center line, probably just a little bit off the true center, right here on your pectoral, on your chest muscle, and just bring the gun up and work with it like so, all right? Especially this short little gun, especially for building type operations and moving inside of a house. So instead of having the gun out here on the shoulder, because I'm not really going to be using the rear sight in this exercise, I'm going to be using really the front sight as my index. I'm looking at the front sight, I'm looking at my target. I'm lining the front sight up on my target. I'm pointing at the target. Downrange here at a close distance, I've got a target. All I'm going to try to do here is just look and point. All right? So we'll charge it up. Not using the sights, I'm using just the front sight. Up. Okay. 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 All right. Safety on. Let's see what I've got. 3 shots, 3 very effective hits. Centerline body, 2 right up here, which would certainly hurt the guy and or disrupt his ability to shoot me. So now again, this is not a long distance. This is a short 8-yard distance. The objective here, though, is to learn to use just the center of your body and the front sight. Put the front sight on the target. Let's try again, all right? This is what's going to happen in a real deal unless you're very well trained and you spend a lot of time at the range. Okay. Couple more shots. Again, all real accurate. All very devastating, especially with this high velocity 223 round. That's what makes this rifle so devastating, is the high velocity. It's a small little projectile, but the velocity is what enables you to elicit some dramatic response inside of your target, which is going to basically incapacitate or stop them. See, pistol rounds travel a lot slower, but the velocity of this rifle is what makes it so devastating. And you can see how now, by demonstrating that center line hold, I now make myself much more mobile because I am not tied to looking through the sight. Okay? Now this works, and it works very effectively. But sometimes you don't have time for that, especially when you're moving. So if we're moving into a room, I want to be able to just point and shoot. Because as I move, I'm going to bobble. As I bobble, it's going to be hard to look at the sight. So I know from my practice that if I'm moving toward a target, I can be extremely accurate. Moving sideways, a little less. Moving away, very accurate. The key factor is I want to point with my left finger, point right at the bad guy, center line the gun, anchor, center, shoot. And there's my 30 rounds. And basically, I've got 27 hits. missed 3. And all my hits are within a corridor that I would consider to be very effective. So the proposal that I'm saying to you is I want you to take your gun, whether it's a CAR or whether a full-sized AR-15, and start to center line the butt of the gun into your chest and use that front sight as an index, okay? All right, it's just an index. Keep in mind, you'll have a tendency to shoot a little high if you bring the sight up all the way. So what you want to do is if you have a target, you just want to line the front sight up with the target. Keeping that front sight maybe 6 to 8 inches, perceived inches, off of the actual item you want to hit. Let's go ahead and try it again. Again, now the full-size AR, same thing. Centered up right here in the upper portion, middle portion of my pectoral muscle, my chest muscle. Okay? Now, that shot hit right here. I had the front sight in my eyes, in my field of view. I had the front sight basically right here, okay? That's where it was aiming. I don't want to aim too high, so again, let's try that again. Front sight at this distance, I'm just bringing the front sight up. If I look at it, if I see where that front sight is, I know, a little high there. There it is. There it is. By basically eyeballing where the front sight is, got my 3 shots right here, centered up exactly where I want to hit. And what I'm doing is I'm putting that sight just 6 inches high of the spot I'm looking to hit. So, headshot, I'm going to bring the sight up a little bit, okay? There it is, right on the top of the head. Just missed a little high. Eye shot. Headshot. Headshot, right in between the eyes. Doesn't get much better than this. All right, and again, not using the sight as a true pinpoint reference, but just as a general reference. I'm generally looking at the sight, and I know that it is covering or covered by my target. So I've got the windage down, now it's elevation. And the one thing about a human-sized target is that there's a lot of elevation. So again, keep in mind, hit someone here, hit someone here, hit someone here, with a rifle shot, it's extremely accurate. All right, and that's the thing I'm trying to teach you here in this point shooting drill. Because of the velocity, your accuracy doesn't have to be as precise as it does, say, with a pistol round. So again, here we go. Safety off, boom. Headshot. Okay, boom. Right there it is again. Centered up in the eyes. And all it takes is a little bit of practice and a little bit of confidence in yourself and your ability to read that front sight, okay? Because now we're going to move to the next segment of this program, and that's movement. And you're going to find, if you practice at all, that moving with that front sight or that gun shouldered up here looking at that front sight and trying to move is very, very difficult, okay? And not only is it difficult to shoot accurately because the sight is bobbling, it's also difficult to run. So what's more important? If someone's shooting at you, you've got to lay fire back, but you've also got to get out of the way. So you've got to run, and you've got to be able to run effectively, but fire effectively at the same time. So when the military invented this rifle, they knew that chances are bad guys were going to shoot, good guys were going to go, hey, get out of the way, and go to cover. And they're hoping that 5 out of 10 shots are going to be pretty darn close. And you can't tell from here, but I know I hit out of those 5 shots, I know I hit 3 or 4 of them. So, we're going to move to the next segment. And that is using this AR-15 in a real tactical way, moving while shooting. Point it up, we're moving off the diagonal. All right, there's basically two types of movement that you can make when it comes to a target. Either moving towards the target or away from the target. Now, pretty obvious that, not much in between that. Whether you're going to diagonally or coming diagonally, either going away or towards the target. Now, why would you go towards the target? Obviously, this guy's got a gun. He is a bad guy. The only reason I'd really go towards that target is to seek cover. If there's a wall here and I'm exposed, there's a wall up there, I may go towards it to get behind that wall. If he has my wife as a hostage, I don't think I want to retreat. And especially if I have an AR-15. I may want to go towards the target at that time. You'll find that point shooting while moving is difficult, but can be very effective when you have a 30-round magazine. Again, using the law of averages that you have to shoot 3 or 4 or 5 shots to get this guy to respond. So, if we take the time now to practice a little bit of movement, we're more than likely going to go ahead and demonstrate the fact that you can be accurate when moving away from the target or towards the target. First objective though, guy has a gun. I've got my AR-15, the CAR here, very lightweight, very easy to carry. And if I'm in a situation where I think something's gonna happen, I'm gonna have it centered up, okay? A little later on I'll show you the sling that I would carry, but right now we're talking shooting, not carry, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the sling later. But I'm gonna have the gun basically here, okay? I'm gonna have my finger pointed, and I'm gonna just hold the gun here until I know something bad's gonna happen or something bad happens. And there's my bad guy, and boy, he looks like he's pointing that gun right at me, and I don't think he's really happy with me. I wanna get out of the way of gunfire and shoot, okay? And especially in that order, all right? Here's my shot, pretty effective. First and foremost, get out of the way. If bad guy has gun is pointed at me, I'm not going to outdraw him. I got to be awfully lucky for him to miss me at this distance. So, first objective, out of the way, shoot. All right? Again, pointing at these distances with this kind of rifle, headshot, headshot. Not bad, especially when you consider the velocity. It's going to take his head off. It's going to take his skull cap off. All right? Again, bad guy has gun, move, point. And slight miss is not a good thing. So perhaps I want to take advantage of the one advantage the AR-15 has, and that's multiple firepower. Shoot 2 or 3 shots. And you can see as I start to move, I start missing. 1, 2, 3. All right? Not a good average. So let's try it again. Here I am. Gonna go to my left. Bad guy, point. A little better. Took a little bit more time. See, all my shots are right here. Okay, again, let's do it again. Takes practice to do this kind of stuff. Bad guy has gun, out of the way. Okay, gonna center it up. I'm just bringing it straight up. Nothing fancy here. Up. Okay. All right, now, moving towards the target I found is a little easier. For whatever reason, the barrel's pointed up. We're moving off of the diagonal. All right? All my shots are still centered up. They're good. So, here I am, coming across. All right? All good shots right on my bad guy. Point, get out of the way. All right? See, the movement induces bobble in the rifle. So I had one miss out of those shots there, because as I move, moving, swinging, especially moving side to side, you start to stray them out. All these shots were because I was moving to the side. This shot was because I moved to the side. Anything else, I'm going to be a little bit more accurate. Now we come back a little farther, index our target. Good shots. Again, taking that front sight, placing it right over my target. So the front sight is covered with the body of this bad guy. Not seeing the rear sight, I just have the front sight and this V here somewhere in his body. And I know that if I want to shoot in this area, I want to make sure I don't aim much higher than his nose with that front sight. I want to keep that sight a little bit lower even, so I'm shooting right about here. There you go. All right, now we're unloaded. Go ahead and work with this camera here. We're going to talk about moving towards the camera. Again, gun's unloaded, all right? Now, what I know I'm going to do, got the gun centered up, okay? Here it is, centered up. That's what I'm trying to do. Pointing, hey you, oh yeah, you. I'm talking about you. See that? Right here. Boom, okay? Now, what's the difference between that and that? Okay? Push. Okay, there we are. We're talking about the same exact principle of pointing, point, push. Now move, same thing, okay? There we are. All right, haven't moved. I'm just saying, hey you, yeah, over there, okay? Boom. All right, so you can see that the pointing ability is very natural. Now we're talking about that lens is only 2 inches wide. All right? We're talking about a small object, that lens, that I'm trying to point right at. So if I can keep my shot centered up in it, then I know I can keep it on a human body. So if you look at this aperture right there, and if I see this aperture right here, all I'm doing is bringing it up right in between it. With my peripheral view, I'm looking at the target, I'm just bringing the sight up into my line of sight. It's the modified sweet spot theory. Instead of using both sights, I'm using just one, all right? And that's how it works on these targets. And that's why it's really your best bet for movement, okay? Because we know that we're not gonna be able to hold the sight up here and move effectively, as effective as we want to. You can move forward this way very effectively, but it's very hard to move diagonally. And it's not quite as fast, especially if you're surprised, just to go, all right? Now, again, I'm not gonna say that using your front sight only is more accurate than using both sights. If I had my choice, I would always walk around with the gun, again, finger pointed, in this position, gun up, line of sight. Boom, there it is. Okay? I would always prefer to do that. But in the real world, that's not gonna happen, okay? We know that you don't know when the bad thing is gonna happen. You don't know what is around the next corner. So by walking here, keeping the gun, keeping your head erect, uh-oh, boom. Now, I've effectively, guns unloaded, effectively brought the sight into my line of sight. Boom. And that's what point shooting is all about with this gun. And that's why this gun is uniquely qualified to point shoot, because this front sight is 2 3/4 inches above the barrel. It gives you the ability to point the front sight right at the target. And understanding that all you've got to do is keep this section of the sight lined up on your target, and you're going to have a fairly accurate combat shot. Let's move on to the next segment. Okay, let's talk about shooting positions for CQC. Understand that a prone position, a seated position, a kneeling position is probably not going to be, well, not necessarily effective, but not possible based upon the true definition of CQC. CQC, close quarter combat. At this distance, I don't want to go prone. I don't want to kneel. I have no choice. I have no time to do those things. All right, so most of our shooting is going to be from a standing or crouched position. Crouched. Okay, and you'll see, or hopefully you'll never see, but it's proven that when bullets start to fly, people crouch down instinctively. Okay? Bang, bang, oh, what happened? Let me make myself smaller. Okay, as small as I can be because I don't want to get hit. One of the old sayings in military circles is all my tall friends are dead. Okay, guys who've been to combat, big tall guys are a bigger target. Okay, sad but true. So what I'd like to do in this segment is talk about the position that you may find yourself in, and that is a crouching or semi-kneeling. Not really knee on the ground. I mean, you can maybe go down, knee on the ground, but you don't really want to anchor yourself too hard because you want to be able to get up and move again. By its very nature, CQC, we don't know where anybody is, okay? People are coming fast. At 10, 15 yards, they could be on top of you in seconds, 2 seconds. You don't want to sit down because it takes too long to get back up. All right, we want to be able to assume some shooting positions in a low angle. All right, got the CAR here, okay? I'm walking around, all of a sudden, uh-oh, there's the bad guy. Oh. Okay, again, point shooting at him, putting the front sight, centered up on the target, on the body that I'm trying to hit. But what I'm trying to do is get low, okay? Because I know that's gonna happen anyways. Bang thing, go. Okay, there's how you're gonna find yourself in a real scenario. So you might as well take the time now to practice it, because you know, as soon as something bad happens, bad guy shoots, you're gonna get low. And you're gonna start pointing instinctively and shooting. Now, okay, again, all my shooting friends out there are gonna say, well, you know, it's much more accurate to use the front sight and rear sight, and gosh darn it, it is. Okay? But I don't feel that if someone's shooting at me, I'm going to have the time with this rifle to bring the sight up. Okay? I may, just doing the sweet spot theory, keeping in mind that my line of sight, I want to line up. Okay? But then again, I also feel that I want to have at least a good chance to point. Okay? And you can do that at these close distances. Now I'm talking less than 25 yards. All right? I wouldn't suggest you try to do this at 50 yards. You're not going to be accurate. And at 50 yards, all of a sudden you have a little bit more time to see that sight. Okay? We're talking about CQC in close. So you can see I've taken a bunch of shots. These are the misses right here. Everything else is very accurate and very deadly. The idea with this whole drill, this movement and now position drill, is that you've got to start to practice what will actually occur in the field. I am a firm believer in getting up on that sight, seeing a sight. All right? We come out here to my next target out there, 50 yards. I want to see that sight, and I want to shoot the shot. And I'm a firm believer that when they're that far out, you need to see both sights. Just that, that's, you know, no ifs, ands, or buts. But when you're in this close, and that guy's got a gun, and he's pointed at you, you've got to shave fractions off the second it takes to access the weapon accurately. And if you take the time to practice and put that front sight on top of the target, you're going to be effective and you're going to be faster. And that's where we're going with this whole thing, because fractions of a second, tenths of an inch are what we're talking about here for survival. Fractions of a second, tenths of an inch. And if you can shave a fraction of a second off, your chance for survival is much greater. Is a standalone item. We're going to turn around and move. I want to take this time now to demonstrate to you this chalker sling. This is basically the setup that I would do for true CQC. Now, understand, if there's a riot or earthquake or something like that, I'm dressing like this. Okay, I've got the Glock in the thigh holster. I'll probably put another Glock here, the backup right here, and I've also got the AR-15. But I've also got my hands free. All right, that's very important for long-term comfort and your ability to function. Now, what I've got is this sling, which I think is just really absolutely fantastic, and I'm going to demonstrate it to you. Of course, I've got the vest on as well. Got it loaded down with magazines and everything else I would need. The sling itself is a standalone item. I'm going to go ahead and turn around, let you see the back, the harness type situation there, okay? And then here on the front, you can see that it's got a middle or center line, again, very important to me, center line hold, okay? The gun will dangle a little bit here, but I've also got it coupled with Blackhawk's cuff, they call it, gun cuff. And so basically now, this takes a little bit of the weight of the gun off of the harness, although it really distributes the weight nicely. And it also secures the gun, so if I wanted to run, it's not going to flop around quite as bad. It will flop around a little bit, but it's going to stay in there. I may want to even hold it. The other thing too is it's readily available, out, boom, boom, and here you can go ahead and shoot like so. Now, one of the other things about this, okay, is I've got a little push-pull thing working here. I can shoot in this position, okay, and one thing that's really exciting is I can actually pull on the red tab and out it comes. All right, so let's go ahead and do that all over again, and you'll see what I'm talking about, and then we'll shoot some live fire. And it's got a marine style, made out of brass, hook. You can see how comfortable it is, like that. The weight's distributed evenly. I can hold the gun like so, whoops. And I can also put it in its cuff, like so. There it is, again. Gives the ability to walk around. Gun's not going anywhere, okay? Perfect. Need the gun? There it is, okay? Now, gotta put my ears on. I'll actually demonstrate that for you. Okay. Bad guy here. Gonna walk back. Uh-oh, something bad happens. Come up, safety off. There it is. Back in. And let's try that again, okay? Walking back, something happens, up. All right, good, safety on. Again, I really want to stress the fact you've got to become very dexterous with the safety on and off. Okay, don't want to put it in this situation with the safety off. Always want to have that safety on. Okay, doesn't come off till the gun is out, and then back on, gun goes away. All right, that's the sling. Now, you'll see that it complements my center line hold that I like. Okay, there it is. And if I'm looking at shooting, it's very easy. This hold really complements what I'm trying to do. Keep the gun lined up with the center of my body, point, and shoot. Move, and shoot. Move. All right. Now, if I want to go for more of an accurate shot, Got to release, come up, see. Safety on. Then I can also cuff it basically just like that, and then rehook up. So that's the chalker sling. And like I said, this is how I prefer to dress in case something happens. This is my rig. I've got my magazines ready and loaded. And now we're gonna move on to the next segment of this program, which I call How Close is Too Close. Now point the gun in my direction, okay? Now Scott is bad guy, and he's got the gun this close. Goal number one, deflect, move closer, okay? Now he can hit you, he can scratch you, he can bite you, but that's a lot better than getting shot, okay? Okay, now this next drill, I've got Scott, my cameraman, who's gonna help me out here, and the object is, how close is too close? One of the mistakes people will make with this rifle is getting too close to the adversary. First, I'm gonna verify that it is in fact unloaded. Again, looking down inside the chamber, pull the trigger in a safe direction. Scott now has the gun. Scott is my bad guy. He has somehow come upon me too close, okay? Here's Scott. Now point the gun in my direction, okay? Now, Scott is bad guy, and he's got the gun this close. One of the things I'm trying to show you here is that if the gun is this close, first of all, he's not gonna miss. Second of all, I am faster. My action is faster than his reaction. So if you are ever in a situation where Scott, crazed bad guy, is really going to harm you, and he's this close, he makes the mistake of coming this close, your best bet may be to get out of the way and grab or push, deflect the muzzle. Now, from there, what would you do, okay? I have another belief that you want to close the distance, because the inherent problem with a rifle is that right here, it's no good to Scott, okay? Now Scott may be bigger than I am, he may be stronger than I am, and all that other stuff, but if I'm here, he can't shoot me, okay? And that's the big equalizer. So, bad guy has gun pointed at me. My objective is, well, okay, I think he's gonna kill me. I'm not gonna put up with that. I need to at least go down fighting, or at least give myself a chance. Goal number one, deflect, move closer, okay? And then start to do all kinds of neat and nasty things, bite, scratch, kick, crawl, gouge, anything you can do, okay? But the objective is get in close and get that muzzle in close. Just stay, hug him, hug him. He can't shoot you this close. Okay, it's gonna be very difficult. Now he can hit you, he can scratch you, he can bite you, but it's a lot better than getting shot, okay? And chances are that if you're out here, you're not gonna wrestle the gun away unless Scott is a very small person. If you're equally sized, he's got two hands on the rifle, and I tell you what, one shot is gonna make that muzzle feel like a python in your hand. It's gonna hurt, okay? It's gonna be squirming around in your hand. It's gonna make your hand ring, and you're gonna wanna let go, okay? So if you're holding on to the barrel, it's gonna hurt you. Hold on to the guard, you'll probably be a little better off. But still, he's got two hands on it, and he's gonna be able to control it. So my objective here is then to get in, move in. Somehow move in, get that gun controlled, grab hold of it, make sure that no matter what I do, that muzzle is out of my way, okay? And then just hang on. Kick, scratch, headbutt, eye gouge, scream, yell, do anything, but don't let him pull a shot off in your direction. If you're going to enter a doorway, get in, get out. And you can see consistent accuracy. And that's what I'm looking for. Let's talk about the ways of death. Doorways, stairways, hallways. They're problematic because the frames of the door basically frame you up. The walls of the hall frame you up, and the same thing is true with a stairway. Again, you're usually dealing with going up or down. It's very critical because you can only see one direction. You don't know which way the bad guy is. So in a doorway situation, you can see I make myself a very unique target because subconsciously it becomes a lot easier to hit me because the bad guy, person with the gun, will use the walls as a reference and just boom, right down the middle. Now this gun's unloaded. We're going to go ahead and talk about how to enter doorways, how to enter a room, and how to use the AR-15 to do so. First and foremost, the most important thing I want to tell you is that never stop in a doorway. Never stop in a hall if you have a choice. Okay? If you're going to enter a doorway, get in, get out. Okay? Get out of that hall or way of death. All right? So that's my first objective, is get in, get out. Okay? Now let's talk about how to get in. And I'm going to go ahead and work with you a little bit. Again, this gun is unloaded. I want you to observe how my eyes work. We're going to revert back to this sweet spot theory, shouldering the weapon, okay? Gun is high, sights are lined up with my eyesight. Now, I'm going to keep both eyes open, and as I approach the doorway, the gun is high in this area, okay? Now, I don't want to lower the gun at all. I want to keep it up in this area. As I come to a doorway, I don't know where the bad guy is. Could be on either side. So obviously I'm going to start on one side. I'm going to get up in here, and I'm going to start to pie or cut the room into slices. Always keeping the gun erect. Always keeping it fixated with my line of sight. Look, step. Leading with my third eye. My third eye being the muzzle, okay? So no matter what I see, if I see a bad guy, I don't want to go in and go, oh, there he is, and raise the gun. I want the gun to already be up. Gun's up, looking through, neck is turtled a little bit, scrunched into my shoulders. Both eyes are open, safety's on, looking, bang, bad guy there, okay? Again, cut the room into slices or pie the room. That means going a small slice at a time. Look, look, look. Always leading with the muzzle. The muzzle is your third eye. You want the bad guy to see the muzzle first. So if I were looking at this, I would slowly come around from this far perspective. I don't want to get that close to the door. Just trying to demonstrate there. As I come around, okay, okay, this is where a guy may hide, okay, I don't see him. Okay, now, I've cleared the one side of the room. So now you would work yourself back around to where you get to about here, and then you got to clear the other side. Again, always keeping that front sight in your line of sight. Now I will tell you, I've been doing this here for 3 or 4 minutes, and you do get a little tired. Holding the gun in this position for 3 or 4 minutes at a time is tiring on your shoulders. So you've got to practice. Because you're serious about self-defense, you're serious about using this gun tactically, this is something you really want to practice. And again, once you get around to this side, then you start to slice the room this way. Being very careful to listen for sounds from inside the room, and maybe more importantly, not to give off sound. Being very careful not to shuffle your feet so the bad guy can hear someone's there and get his gun ready. Okay? Being very aware of what's going on, any breathing, any shadows, any reflections do I see? Okay? If there's a mirror in the room, bad guy's hiding right back here, do I see the reflection? Look for reflections, movement, shadows, hear breathing, footsteps, rustling of clothing, that kind of stuff. You want to be very aware, use all your senses. Come around, both eyes are open. Not really worried about that front sight, I'm looking right through it. Okay, again, slowly, bang, bad guy, okay? And if you don't see the bad guy there, obviously you work yourself all the way around. Now, we've cleared the room, okay? Gun is high the whole time. We know now no one's on either side as far as we can see. We feel now we must enter the room for whatever reason. Let me tell you, this is one of the most dangerous things you can do. Law enforcement officers, you know, will tell you. It's the most scary, most dangerous thing you can do in law enforcement is enter a house. You don't know where the bad guy's at. That's why they send dogs in. Okay, the dogs go first, sniff out the bad guy, scare the bad guy, then they just handcuff him. You know, they don't want to lose a dog, but they had, rather lose a dog than have an officer go in there and have to either wrestle, confront a knife, or a gun from a bad guy. So let's send the dogs in first. Now, you, of course, may not have that luxury, guns unloaded, but if you are going to enter a room, I will say to you, now that we have established there's nobody on either side, we've hid the room, we've looked as far as we can, we want to get into that room and get out of the doorway fast, okay? So we want to get in and get out, okay? Move out of that doorway. Don't stand there. Don't be a silhouette and come in here and go, okay, now what? Move right through the door, move right into the room, and try to get some kind of cover, some kind of concealment, keeping that gun at a ready position, because you don't know, you may have missed something when you scan the room. That's the moment of truth there as soon as you enter that room. The .223 cartridge has the ability to go right through walls. I'm talking any interior wall in any house in America. The .223 is going to penetrate that wall and have just as much deadly force on the other side of that wall as it does on the outside of the wall. So, I'm not suggesting that you would blindly fire into a room, because that makes no sense at all. You always want to identify your target. What I am suggesting is that you be very careful with where these shots end up. You don't want to miss. So with a .223 cartridge, you may want to use a soft point round versus a ball ammunition or metal jacket, full metal jacket round. They do make rounds that have a soft lead point. In fact, I believe we got one right here. Here's the difference. There's the full metal jacket, and here's the soft lead. Brian can come in here and get a close-up. You'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, full metal jacket right here. Lead soft point on your left. Now, the idea here is that this soft point lead will have less penetration power than the full metal jacket, the military round. In a law enforcement or military situation, it's a totally different thing. Those guys are on different ends of the world. Military guys operate in a whole different world. Law enforcement is a whole different situation as well. They cannot fire blindly, and you as a civilian can't do that either. So I'm not suggesting at all that you shoot through a wall to hit a bad guy, because you don't know who that bad guy is, okay? So always try to identify your target. Now let's go ahead and load this thing up and do a couple drills where we actually shoot in this room clearing, room entry exercise. Okay, here's my bad guy. And I'm going to go outside of my room, going to pie my room, and take one shot, maybe two. Let's see how accurate we can be. Again, we're looking for accuracy in this drill. That's why we're using the sweet spot theory. We'll go ahead and charge up. Okay, safety is on. All right, assuming that we've already cleared this side of the room, or this is the first side we're going to clear, go ahead and assume the position. Sweet spot theory. Fingers pointed. Front sight up. Looking through the rear sight, right through the front sight. Both eyes are open. Okay, here we go. Now we're looking at our bad guy. Can't see anything yet. Don't know really where he's at. I know he's over there. Looking everywhere I can. Don't want to forget to look at that floor too. Don't want to block my vision. All right, let's see what happened here. Come on in. You can see what we're talking about. My shot right here. Okay. aiming just a little high at these distances, understanding I'm going to hit a little bit low. It's a very effective shot right in the mid-face region, which in a sense is very effective because the rear part of the brain is located right there. So if you follow what I was doing, okay, sight is all lined up. Once I see the bad guy through that sight, I'm going to squeeze my shot. Don't want to leave my feet out. I don't want to come around like this because he'll see my feet before I do. I want to make little steps. Little steps. Okay. And again, when I first saw him, I saw his gun. I took my shot, and you can see consistent accuracy. And that's what I'm looking for. And that's what you can deliver using that sweet spot theory. Consistent accuracy based upon the fact that you have a sight picture, you're looking right through the sight. As soon as you see the bad guy, you take the shot. You don't have to look at your sight again. It's already there. I, in fact, see the bad guy right through the rear sight. That is my field of view. I use my left eye for everything else, okay? If I see any movement out there, but I am looking at the bad guy through the rear sight, okay? That is basically my field of view, and that's how you've got to use the sweet spot theory, by getting the gun up so high and it just stays there, okay? And I see my sight picture, sight alignment, and now I'm just going to go ahead and, as soon as I see the bad guy, squeeze the shot. The first thing I want to show you is not really a piece of equipment, but a little bit of American ingenuity. It's an excellent way for you to double the magazine capacity of your AR-15. Not a big secret, but something that's kind of neat. Basically, I've taken two magazines and taped them together in the same direction. So you can see, we basically have it in like so. When you want to make the change, release the button, out it comes, flip it around, and back it goes. Okay, just that easy. Now, one of the things I want to show you, when I do that taping, what I like to try to do is take my black tape, start it around one of the magazines first, get a good solid hold on that one, and then match up the other magazine, and again, finish it off. So that's kind of the technique there for doubling your ammunition capacity. And while we're talking about ammunition, you know, it is obviously the most important thing to have, especially in CQC shooting. I want to talk about some ammunition carriers. Obviously, the vest I have itself has some pouches on it to carry different AR-15 style magazines. The U.S. Armed Forces for years has used this magazine carrier, which carries 3 M16 AR-15 style magazines. Has a little snap and a shut here like that in the front there. It has 2 Alice clips on the back, which would be then able to attach to attachment points on a vest or a belt. This is an older style system. It's now being replaced by some newer style things. 2 things that are kind of apparent with this. It gets a lot of wear on both the attachment points with these metal against fabric, as well as it has a tendency to dangle, and it's kind of in your way no matter where you put it. Once it gets all fully loaded, it gets heavy. So there's a couple other options that I like. I like this belt-mounted or leg-mounted unit that carries 3 AR-15 style magazines. Got both Velcro and a snap. 3 30-round magazines right here, so I've got 90 rounds here. And then in the gun itself, I've got another 60 rounds. And so we're basically good to go, loaded up. And what's really nice about this is it distributes the weight nice and evenly. It's not a big box, it's not bulky, and it's easy to run, easy to crouch, easy to shoot, easy to get into positions, shoot, move, which is what you're going to be doing with CQC style shooting. One other thing I want to show you on this gun, I've installed now the Seymour sight system. I've taken off the handle and I've installed the Seymour sight system. It basically, because this is a flat top style gun, the handle does come off and the Seymour system goes right on. What this is basically an optic here that on which a laser beam is projected onto the optic, which creates a dot. That dot now is my aiming point. Okay, so what we've done here is we eliminated the rear sight and the front sight per se. Okay, there still is a rear sight here and there still is a front sight here, but now with this system I can use just the single dot. Wherever I place the dot, in turn the shot will go. And it's so simple because it's set up like this. Basically, I've already sighted my gun in at 100 yards. All I'm going to do now is make sure that the dot intersects with the sights. So you turn the sight on, and as you look down range, just look for your dot. And by looking through the rear aperture, looking at the front post, I've already got it set up so that the dot sits right on the front post. So now the gun is sighted in. So now wherever I see that dot, wherever it is, I don't even have to worry about the front sight anymore. That's where the shot will go, okay? So by eliminating the ability or the need to look through the rear sight to the front post, by looking at just one object, I'm able to greatly increase my speeds in acquiring the sight, which enables me to shoot the shot faster. Again, my old adage, if you want to shoot faster, you've got to learn to see the sights faster. This device enables you to see the sight faster because all you have to do is see one object. Again, in traditional shooting, rear sight, front sight, match them up, make sure you have the right sight picture, sight alignment, and then squeeze the shot. With the Seymour system and other systems like it, all we've got to do now is see one item, the red dot, place it on the target that I want to shoot, squeeze the trigger. I do not have to match anything up. So it's that much faster. And again, if you want to shoot faster, you've got to learn to see the sight faster. All right, speaking of speed, one other thing I want to introduce here, and we're going to use in our next segment, is the timer. It's a Pocket Pro timer. Basically, it records your shots. I've introduced this in prior tapes. I think it's very important. It's the only way you can really test yourself, push yourself, improve yourself to see how fast you really are shooting is to use a timer. And this is a great little device, and I'll show you how it works coming up here in this next segment, which will be shooting at multiple targets, both for speed and accuracy. So, now we've talked about the sweet spot theory, engaging the first target. Now the key to this, or the secret to this, is to engage the second target basically the same way, all right? But the gun is already mounted. Boom, there it is, second target, boom, okay? See what happened is I took my whole head and gun with me at the same time. Boom, boom. It's basically a tank turret type move. I like to work here at these close distances in a sight picture dry fire deal. There it is, all right? Both eyes are open, looking at the target, picking a spot on the target I want to hit, stopping the gun. Most people have a tendency to over travel and then come back. So you can avoid that, or should I say, lessen your chances of doing that if you keep your eyeballs slightly ahead of the sight. All right, so now pay attention here. Here's what I'm going to try to do. Mount for the first shot, bang, there's my shot. My eyeballs are traveling now after I've taken that shot. After I've seen the gun lift off, I want to move my eyeballs, not my head, okay? My eyeball is going to shift a little bit to the next target. Not my head though, okay? My head is going to stay mounted on the gun. So I'm up, now I come across and I lead ever so slightly with my eyes. All right, that's the secret here for engaging the second target. Try not to, boom, boom, too slow, all right? Too much movement, got too many things going on. Remember, once I get the gun mounted up here, that's it. That's my drill. I don't want to take the gun away. Wherever I look, wherever my head is, instinctively, the muzzle's going because it's my third eye. All right, 1, 2, 3. It's lined up, so no matter where I look, if I hear a voice, boom, voice, and I instinctively look over, I'm ready to shoot, ready to engage. Again, keeping both eyes open. A lot of people grew up shooting with one eye closed, and you'll see in CQC, things are too fast, too close, too quick to keep one eye closed. You limit your visibility by, like right there. So all of a sudden, I can't see anything over here, okay? And all of a sudden, I'm much less effective. Got to learn to shoot with both eyes open, and that's why mounting the head is even more important, because I know that my strong eye, my right eye, is locked in. So I know that whatever I am looking at, whatever I see, my sight is there. All right, so let's move back now and put this into play. I'm not going to use a timer yet. What I'd like to do here is strictly go through the muscle drills that we're looking for to, 1, mount, shoot, stop. Mount, shoot, stop. Mount, shoot, stop. How fast can we go? All right, here we go. I'm going to charge up. Let's get our ears and eyes on. Okay, again, we're mount. The key is I want to learn to stop on that target, okay? I want to go ahead and I want to get up. I want to see it. I do want to see the sight. This is a close distance. I can probably point shoot this very effectively, but I want to learn to see the sight faster, so let's learn here at these close distances, all right? And go nice and slow, all right? Again, 2 good center hits. Nice and slow. And again, see what my finger is. I'm pointing very instinctively. Gun is high, up, nice and easy. Easy stuff. All right, really easy to go ahead and shoot the target. It's a simple fact of being able to see that sight faster to shoot faster. And it takes practice. You can do it in dry fire situation all day long, and that's why I suggest you go ahead and start it. Let's move back a little bit further now. Again, my target's going to be at about 20, 25 yards. All right, here we go. Again, a little farther distance. I want to make sure I see the target. And there they are. Now, make that magazine change. All right. Again, starting here, see the sight. Okay, we're going to now introduce the timer, and you can see one reason I really like this shoulder harness is because it gives me the hands free. But the timer basically is going to now validate some of our speed. How fast are we hitting this target? I've got to set it for a 2-second parse set. That means I'm going to push the button, has a random start. When the buzzer goes off, I've got a 2-second window. Here it goes, 1, 2, to shoot my shots, all right? And so now 2 seconds is a heck of a lot of time, especially at these distances. These are not long distances, but 2 seconds is not that long when you're talking about someone responding to what you're doing. So let's go ahead, get ourselves set up, and see if we can engage these 2 targets in less than 2 seconds. See, plenty of time there. In fact, I got through in about 1.47. So let's do it again. Okay, watch the mounting technique. Easy stuff. Again, we're about 20 yards with a rifle. Fairly easy shot. When you introduce the time, it gets a little bit more challenging. My total time was 1.38 from the time the buzzer went off to the second shot. One more time here. Total time there is 1.28. So 2 shots, 2 different targets in 1.28 seconds. And I bet you we can ramp it up a little bit faster here. So let me try one more time. Starting with the gun high. 1.13. So you can see with a little bit of practice, you can get really fast from shot to shot. And I hope I've been able to give you the techniques that I'm looking for that enable you to go from the first target to the second target. Again, remember, let your eyes lead you just a little bit so you don't overswing on the target. All right, now suppose that you are actually in a firefight or some situation and there are multiple adversaries or even one adversary. I have a videotape called Move, Shoot, Live, which discusses extensively using a pistol and the ability or the need to move out of the line of fire as you mount the pistol up, because chances are, if you're a good guy and you've got a pistol either in a concealed carry, even in a low position, and a bad guy wants to do something to you, you really can't have the gun pointed at him, or you can't shoot him until he decides that he's going to hit you with a club, stab you with a knife, shoot you with his gun. So you're really at a disadvantage. You, being the good guy, have to wait for the bad guy to really start the trouble before you can elicit a response. So again, you're responding to the action versus initiating the action, so you're at a slight disadvantage. Same thing is true here with the AR-15 and CQC. So I want to go ahead and incorporate the movement drills into my practice so that I have the ability to get out of the way of fire or of danger, whether it be a club, a knife, or another firearm. The first objective, especially if I've got my gun in a low ready position, which is fairly normal, is for me to get out of the way of the bad guy, okay? So if you're the bad guy and you have a gun, the first thing I want to do is get out of the way. I want you to have to track me, and I typically want to move horizontally or laterally towards you versus just straight back. Now, increasing the distance is always a good idea. The farther I get away, the greater chance you are going to miss me with the club, the knife, and or a firearm. Although we do know that if it is a firearm, if I step straight back, chances are you're going to be just as accurate at 6 feet as you are at 10 feet in that lateral, or should I say that one-dimensional move. If I were to step diagonally back and to the side, I now know that you not only have to shoot a longer shot, but you've got to move the barrel of the gun to track me. Hence, I'm anticipating that you're going to miss me with greater chances because of the odds of you having to move the barrel to readjust your shot. So, I want to take the same information, plug it into my brain here with this rifle stuff, and say, how do I use that movement, that knowledge, to ensure my survivability in CQC with an AR-15? Okay, here's my targets. My objective at this point is to get out of the way of the line of fire as I mount the firearm, okay? So I'm at the low ready position. Uh-oh, bad things are happening. I want to step back and mount, okay? Now I do know that the AR-15 has a tremendous advantage, and that is hellacious firepower. Okay, this is a heck of a gun at these kind of distances. Okay, so if bad guy has a firearm, a club, or a knife, I know that I want to at least increase the distance, one big step, mount, and shoot. All right, real fast, but get out of the way. Let's go up and see what happened to our target. Again, this is strictly point shooting by 2 hits. And we've got a distance of approximately 12 to 15 feet, all right? All I'm doing is taking everything we've learned here so far, pointing the gun, mounting the gun, mounting it high, kind of centered up with my body with my right eye, looking at the target, looking at a spot on the target, squeezing the trigger rapidly, okay? So again, now I'm just incorporating, as I mount the gun, a step, just like that, all right? That's all I'm doing. Step and shoot. Just to give myself that extra bit of time and perhaps a little bit of luck so that the bad guy misses me, all right? So I do want to make sure that I practice moving, moving, moving and shooting and pointing, okay? Now, the hard part here is that as I'm moving, it's very, very difficult to actually see the sight, okay? Because I am moving and I'm gonna focus on the bad guy. He has a gun, okay? Very hard for me now, even though I bring that sight up, to really pick up the sight. So I've got to rely on the training that we've gone through, that I know the sight is gonna be there, because I've practiced enough to know that where I'm looking, the sight's gonna intersect. See how it all ties together? So now in this rapid movement drill, where everything's happening very quickly, I want to rely on my training to know that as I'm moving, as I'm mounting, as I'm bringing the gun up, it's there. The gun is there, the sight is there. I don't have to pause to look at it, because I've trained enough, I've taken the time to know that if I mount the gun properly, bring it up, it's going to be there every time. And I know it already that I've taken the time to practice that I can squeeze the trigger really fast, do accurate shots. There's not a lot of recoil with this gun. I mean, this is an easy gun to shoot. It's a 22. Very easy to shoot, very easy to control. You can go ahead and you can shoot this thing all day long and basically have accurate shots every time. So again, to recap this whole movement thing, we know this bad guy is going to have to elicit the response before I can level him down. All right? We know that I can't just go up and say, well, you look like you're a bad guy. You're in my house or in my land. You're trying to steal my car. You're trying to do something. You're trying to damage or hurt me. I'm going to go ahead and shoot you. No, we have to wait till he actually does something. So as he brings his gun up, brings his knife up, rushes towards me, the most important thing I can do, especially with a long gun, is get back and away. And then see what's happening, mounting the gun, pointing right at the bad guy. Boom, boom, boom. 3 shots with this at this kind of distance is going to go ahead and do it. And again, we want to try not to just back straight up from the adversary, to go to the diagonal, to get out of the way, especially if it's a firearm, especially if it's a knife. Because we want to give ourselves that extra fraction of a second to be able to engage the target before they get to us. All right, so let's do it one more time. Ready? Here we are. Bad guy, oh. Just like so. All right, and you know, I am looking through the sights. And I am bringing that line of sight up, that gun and that red dot into my line of sight. And I am trying to see it, but when it gets really fast, you've got to start to rely on your training. And that comes with practice, and that's why we're here at the range to show you some of the drills I like to do to get up to speed, to be able to really use the AR-15 for CQC. All right, now in CQC shooting, many times it's quite desirable to be behind cover. In fact, it's always desirable to have cover and concealment. The difference being cover will deflect or stop bullets. Concealment just hides you from the adversary that you're starting to stay away from. This block wall would represent cover. And so let's talk about how to use cover in a CQC situation and some of the advantages that you can also take for accuracy with cover. First off, whenever you have an objective to get around this cover, I will tell you that it's very bad tactically to hug the cover and come up around here, because you just don't know what's happening around on this side. So if you were to approach a corner as such, try to keep your distance from that corner away so you have a little bit more mobility. If I'm against the wall, I've really got only one place to go, and that's either that way or straight back. If a bad guy comes around the corner, he's got a relatively easy shot because the wall funnels his bullets right at me. So what I want to try to do is always stay away from that wall. Always approach the corner with my third eye engaged, okay? The gun is already mounted. It's high, like I like it. Both eyes of mine are open. I am watching. I'm coming around. I am ready to squeeze the trigger. I'm looking. I'm listening. I want to hear. I want to see. I want to use all my senses. I want to smell. Is anybody out there? What's going on? And I don't want to get too close to that corner. I want to peek out just a little bit, little baby steps, trying to keep myself as quiet as possible. I don't want to make any loud rustling noises, because if there's a bad guy there, he'll know I'm coming. Again, sneaking yourself around slowly but surely, seeing if there is danger on the other side of this wall. And once there's not, then we go to the next side, the next wall. It's very, very nerve-wracking, this whole process of working in and around cover and using cover, because the difference is getting shot. Now, one of the things to talk about in CQC is shooting positions. Typically, we've done most of our shooting out in the open. Chances are there's really no opportunity for you to go prone. It's too slow. You go prone, you're down on the ground, up comes bad guy rushing. Very hard for you at a prone shot to sweep the gun around. So I suggest in this CQC environment, again, 50 yards, 25 yards. If you have cover, keep the cover crouching low. Again, gun at the ready position, okay? Always ready. In this low martial art, football type stance, okay? Springy, able to move if I have to. I don't want to get down too low and get too comfortable where all of a sudden I'm overrun by someone and I don't have the ability to swing the gun around because I'm down on my knees. So I like to get here, have the gun ready, have a little bit more mobility. Now, speaking of those positions, again, I like to tell you to rule out being prone in this environment. We're not snipers here, this is CQC. You got to be able to move. Sitting and or kneeling, a little less desirable, but certainly could work. Crouching is probably what you're going to find to be your most instinctive position. One, you want to get small, get low, get away from the gunfire. Two, it just gives you the ability to move, respond quickly without having to get up and move all your weight around, and it keeps you smaller away from gunfire. So you'll find that you'll do a lot of shooting, a lot of moving in this position, trying to stay low away from people. All right, if my cameraman's going to come around behind me now, we're going to talk about using this wall as a system of support for some accurate shots. Sometimes in CQC shooting, you'll have the desire, the need to take an extremely accurate shot. Most of the shooting we've done now has been combat style or a full center body mass, okay? We're not looking for precision shots, we're looking just to hit them with as many shots as possible in the center body, in the mass area, the chest cavity of our opponent. Now, let's just talk about if you do have the opportunity to get behind some cover, take the time to learn how to assist yourself to steady your shot. You can be extremely accurate with this gun after 200 yards, and from 50, 25, you can be hitting eyeballs if you use some type of support. So basically all I'm going to do is just lean my body against the cover, all right? All of a sudden I've got now 3 points, 2 legs, and a body lean. Go ahead, come up here, steady my shot, and there's a headshot. And my cameraman can see down here. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're able to do with this kind of position. Okay, again, just take a little bit of extra time. Go back to the same target. Same hole, same shot. So with this kind of position, by leaning against or even trapping the gun against the wall, say I was on the other side, I wanted to trap the gun against the wall, you can be much more accurate. In fact, this is where you can do your extreme accuracy. Now again, remember that I've got this gun sighted in for 100 yards. This shot is about 25 yards. I know that the gun is going to shoot a little bit low, than where my sights are, okay? So I had to aim just slightly high. I'm talking about 2 inches high to be able to elicit that shot in the center of the head plate over there. So that's the kind of things that I hope you've been able to pick up here in this program. Is with CQC, we're talking about shooting at 50, 75, 25 yards. We're talking about multiple targets. We're talking about fast shots. We're talking about moving. And it all comes together when you start to come out to the range and train using your gun, multiple targets, doing some of the things we've shown here, using a timer, gearing yourself up to be able to do these kind of things. That is how you can get prepared for true CQC shooting with the AR-15. I'm Lenny McGill. Thanks for watching. This has been AR-15 CQC. We'll see you next time.